All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Cross Connection. I'm Tiffany Cross, and boy, do we have a lot to discuss this morning, so let's get right into it. You guys saw the primetime speech Thursday night where President Biden warned that American democracy is on the brink, and he did not shy away from pointing out that Donald Trump and his followers are the ones pushing it over the edge.
MAGA Republicans do not respect the Constitution. They do not believe in the rule of law. They do not recognize the will of the people. They refuse to accept the results of a free election. And they're working right now, as I speak, in state after state, to give power to decide elections in America to partisans and cronies, empowering election deniers to undermine democracy itself.
Now, the president did somewhat soften that message on Friday. Take a listen.
I don't consider any trouble.
But he did repeat that election deniers and those who call for political violence, in fact, are a threat to democracy, a threat that clearly seems to be growing every single day. Let's bring in our guest. Joining me now is Roland Martin. He's the host of the Daily Digital Show, hashtag Roland Martin Unfiltered, and LaTosha Brown. She's the co-founder of the Black Voters Matter Fund. Very excited to have this panel break down President Biden's speech. LaTosha, I want to kick it off with you. What do you say? Did Biden capture the soul of America on Thursday night?
You know, I think he did three things. One, I actually thought it was one of his strongest speeches. I think that he was able to capture this idea of hope. You know, the last 2 years has been very difficult for people. So even having a sense of hope, I think that in itself, I think he did a really good job at. The second thing I think he did is he called out some things that some of us have been screaming all the while. And the fact that he actually mentioned white supremacy, the fact that he actually mentioned that there's this element around, there's an attack on equality and democracy, and both of those are connected. I thought those were two big, really good points that he made. You know, the third thing is that we also have to be honest that in the context of while the MAGA Republicans are certainly leading the effort, that there's also, the Republicans have been complicit, that there has been a strategy and a policy to exclude people in this nation, and the Republicans have been complicit, but also there have been some Democrats that have been complicit around supporting policies that don't support poor and working class people, that support policies that literally put profit over people. And so if we're going to actually move forward as a nation, we're going to have a real honest assessment of how the entire nation and all political parties are accountable to making sure we put we the people first.
You know, LaTosha, that's an interesting point. Say more because obviously Republicans, I think, are the biggest threat to democracy. We don't separate right-wing extremists and Republican Party anymore. I was struck, though, just now you said there are some Democrats complicit in this. Can you just explain to our viewers what exactly you mean by that?
Well, let's talk about Senator Manchin and Sinema. There are two senators who have been standing in the way of us being able to actually pass legislation to end the filibuster so we can get progressive legislation passed. They've also literally supported, Manchin basically supports and coddles the coal industry. When you look at Sinema, she does the same around corporate interests, you know, and I think, and standing in the way of voting rights. And so when we're looking at how we move forward, I think that the president had a strong statement, but we also have to put pressure to say that no one can actually stand in the way of our democracy, including members of our own party.